Okay, technical marks and T4. When I speak to students who get through the T4 exam and pass, it's just great to hear. Um, as with every sitting, there are always one or two who don't get through, and the margins of error with T4 are very, very small. More often than not, if a student receives some bad news on results day, it may well be that they get 24 or 23. So, very nearly a pass, but not quite a pass. And when I was thinking about areas, speaking to Nick about this, Nick Best. And speaking about areas to do webcasts on to try and help you get those extra marks, one of the first things that came into my mind, having marked a lot of T4 scripts over the last sort of 6 months or so, in particular, must be nearing sort of 300, 250, 300 or thereabouts, is what I see students doing is not getting the technical marks. Okay, so in terms of the options that you have within the T4 report, as we know, there are lots and lots of technical models. I'm going to take you through a few of them now, but obviously we've got a SWOT, which will be required. The examiner wants you to have a SWOT in your report, and several others. Most likely you would have a Mendeley perhaps, or a PEST, but there are a series of models that you can use, and really only one that you have to, which is a SWOT. Now, so you've got a lot of choices. You've got a lot of ways in which you can get these technical marks. It's very much up to you, and I guess the sort of details of the unseen that you see on the day. So you've got to make a decision. Now, in terms of total marks available for proper use of the technical models, we've got 5. You'll be familiar with the marking grid, hopefully, this sort of slightly unusual marking grid for the T4 paper, completely different to anything that you've seen before. Now, we've got 5 technical marks that we can get. There are a few others linked into this area, but let's just concentrate within this short webcast on these 5 technical marks. And really, as I started off saying at the start of this webcast, you know, this could be the difference between you passing and failing. This could be the difference between 24 and 25. I'll explain a little bit more of what I mean in a minute. So, you know, do be aware. Once you've looked at this webcast, do keep these small things at the forefront of your mind. Is your technical model good enough? Have you referenced, etc., etc. This could be the difference between you completing your SEMA exams and not. Okay, so in terms of how you would get those marks, what I've got in front of you here is the Astranti marking guide for full marks. Now, this is just one small section out of a 6-page document, and it takes quite a lot of time, I can assure you, to mark a full script, and it's very, very detailed. So this is just one area from a real feedback form marking grid that I have completed for a student who did 2 mock exams for us. This was a February student. There's no personal details disclosed here, just literally a snippet, as it were, from the technical section of our marking grid. And I really was looking forward to showing you this, because what you've got here, if you just have a look at your screen, is that you've got a couple of columns. So we've got on the left-hand side where it says 1 here, you've got the mock number 1, yeah, and to the right you've got mock number 2. So I'm going to concentrate just on mock number 1, this column here. So this is a column for technical marks, the technical section, and this particular reporting grid just goes down and down over the many areas where students can get marks. Now, just in case you can't read what's on here, I'm going to read this area up here right at the top left where it says technical. Okay, I'm going to read this for you in case your screen is small. Now, what it says is technical, 1 mark per theory correctly used. The main theories can be in the appendix or in the main body of the text. If done in the appendix, they must be properly referenced and used in the main body of the text to score marks. Merely mentioning the name of the theory does not score a mark. It does not score a mark. It needs to be explained well and used correctly. So there you have it. Now, with this particular student, what you'll see is you've got a series of options here on the left-hand side, SWOT, PEST, and Mendeley, etc., etc. And these are my comments. And the yellow highlights, by the way, are my highlights. So this is what I was trying to draw to the attention of the student to say, this is what you're not doing. Now you'll see from the above that this student has scored 1 mark out of 5 in this mock number 1, just 1 mark. So 4 have gone missing. Okay, on the SWOT you'll see that I've said it's just not applied in the main body. Yeah, same on ANSOLVs, not applied in the main body. I've given this particular student for Mendeley's, I've given her half a mark. I've said needs more referencing. And if I had £1 for the number of times within T4 mock feedback forms that I said needs more referencing, I would be extremely well off. That's the constant thing that I keep coming back to students on. You're not referencing. So let's look at the conundrum here that you have. You go into the exam, you complete your appendices, let's say a SWOT, a Mendelow's PEST, you complete those. If you do not reference in the main body of the text, the main body of the report, you're not getting any marks. None at all. None at all. Zilch. So what we've got there is 2 problems, really. The first one is that you haven't got any marks. But the second one is as a sort of a knock-on effect. In other words, you spend a lot of time doing those models because you know they're important, but you haven't used them in the main body. Therefore, you've wasted a lot of time. Now, as we know, and I'm sure you'll be sick of this, time in the T4 report, we have major issues here. So if we're doing work and we're not getting any marks for it, we're really, really in trouble. So what I would urge you to do is, really take this on board. If you're going to do appendices, and you need to, you've got to reference them in the main body of your text. And when I say main body, really I'm talking about the detailed analysis section. You can reference elsewhere. That's no problem at all. But as a minimum, within the detailed analysis section, so let's say that you've got 4 issues, you've got to reference twice. Yeah, so you've got to say, as per Mendelow's matrix, this particular stakeholder, is a key player. High power, high interest. Okay, so you've got to give some information there. You can't just say refer to Mendelow's. A little bit of information, maybe explain the model a little bit. But as a minimum, you've got to reference. You must reference. Okay. So as you'll see from the grid here, I'll just move my camera out of the way for a second. You've got quite a few options here. And one of the things that we'll be doing on the master classes is giving you some sort of easy ways to get these technical marks. You don't necessarily have to do an appendix. You can refer in a technical sense within the body of the report, perhaps relating to generic strategies or other areas. I mean, there are plenty other areas as well. I've got no time to go into the detail here on those, but I certainly will do perhaps in a later masterclass or later webcast even. Okay. So you'll see just as a final point here on the grid is that Mark 2, the one to the right hand side where you see 0.5, that column, yeah, you'll see that I've simply copied and pasted exactly the same comment, yeah, onto excuse me, onto the next column. So in other words, this particular student, although they've now passed, I just want to let you know, because we had email exchanges and they did change their ways, hopefully as a result of some of my feedback. But the second mark, exactly the same comment, exactly the same comment. So we've got to listen to the feedback we're getting in relation to our mock exams and adjust and increase our marks. So in terms of your tactics, what do you need to do? Okay, well, the first thing that we need to do, obviously, is we need to learn the pre-scene. You've got to have your technical models, your SWOT, perhaps your Mendelow's. You've got to have the basic information from the pre-scene in your models. That's a given. Okay, you've got to update for the unseen. Yeah, you've got to include each of your four issues or relevant points from each of the four issues within your models in the appendices, if that's where we're going for our technical marks. And you've got to use in the main body of the report. Yeah, last point, key the key point, reference well. You've got to reference well. If you are not going to reference, yeah, your technical models, so let's say they're done in the appendix, if you're not going to reference them in the main body of the report, don't bother doing them because you're not going to get any marks. End of story. Okay, so please do reference your models well. Okay, that may well be the key, as I've said, to you getting 25 or above perhaps, as opposed to 24. There's small margins here, so let's just make sure that we get the basic marks. And using a technical model well and referencing, perhaps one of the easier or some might call cheaper marks within the T4 paper. So let's get them. Yeah. Um, uh, did I mention referencing? I'm not sure. Maybe I didn't actually mention referencing, but just in case I didn't, I just want to remind you, please do reference your model as well within the main body of your report. As I've said, 2 times for each issue within that detailed analysis section. So just in case I didn't do that earlier in this webcast, I'm reminding you just one more time, please do reference your models within the main body of the report. Your marker is going to see that, is going to give you marks. He's also, or she is also going to note this person is referencing well. That's going to set you apart from, unfortunately, some of the people who are not going to be doing this on the day, and an easy way to get marks. Okay, so listen, thanks for listening. Good luck on the day in your exam whenever you do the T4 paper, and best wishes for results day as well. Thank you.